And today we have adopted the museum culture. We want to make a temple, not a museum. Even if the temple project remains a bit small, we can't bring to life everything. That's what the temple is. Because in terms of museum, a lot of work has already been done. And now they are accessible to a few elites, where here and there. And most of them proudly say, oh, we don't believe in any of these. We are simply editing these things. I'm only interested in history. Believe me, I have talked with so many of them, and everybody says like that. Why should you even waste your time doing so much of work, something that you think is otherwise meaningless for humanity? Can these books give any knowledge that is useful to us? The person would say no. I mean, Sanderson himself has told that many times. Yeah. So our job, at least the way I'm thinking right now, is to bring to animation whatever we can. That is what they were meant to be anyway. And in terms of conservation, we need to keep shouting, bring in awareness. So I just submitted, before I started driving yesterday morning, I have submitted one proposal that I want to organize a symposium or a workshop on manuscript editing, and my India Center is going to issue some fund for that. And so I was trying to make it, rather than symposium, a workshop, and they only had technical difficulty. What kind of workshop if I'm inviting 3 scholars and the participants are only 3 scholars? And then they're saying then otherwise you would have to fund for like 20 other people, and we don't have that money. So I'm assuming that even though I do not know who those experts are going to be, I'm not saying that I want that to be your job. But if I can convince my administration that the people who will be willing to participate in a workshop will join online, and then I will open the forum for everybody to join online. So, in the beginning, I mean, if I already have like 3 or 4 scholars in mind in this university flight and everything, that already takes some. We will start that as like awareness campaign. And then hopefully more people get to know. There was limitation, but when I say this way, then people get annoyed, particularly very nationalist type. So there was time, like even 25 years ago, some equal number, meaning 25, 30 departments in Germany dedicated to Indology. And they were all philologists, and they believed in books, reading, classical, translation, and everything. All these departments are closed. A few remaining departments have changed their trajectory to do all the social studies, because it's America everywhere in the world now. We want to do social studies. But it's easy to go look some Indians, what are these weird guys doing, write about it, then just to get training for decade, learning language, everything, So it doesn't help any imperial project by reading, language and manuscripts and all that. Social anthropology is much effective vehicle for colonization. And yes, isn't there a lot of work being done in India? Okay. When I am so blunt, show me one good work, then many people get offended, okay? Because we are in such a rush, we want to, be done with one editing in 6 months and go back to normal life and all. And the Westerners, why would they do a better job? Because it's like they spend like a decade just editing one single chapter or something, and it's kind of frustrating. I'm not built that way. I have this Bharatiya mind, like what they wanted me when I was in Germany, they wanted me to continue the same cataloging stuff and then focus on one small chapter of the Mokshopaya for all my research. I want to read all Shastras. Why would I focus in 2 chapters? Our brain is more holistically built. They are very precise, one single chapter analysis. Their understanding of expertise is different than Pandit's understanding of expertise. So I couldn't help myself. I was already built in a particular mold. So I didn't want to be that particular Indologist, but I do know we need that. And rather than creating chairs, positions and all, we should have some type of trainings, and when we have qualified people, then whatever little support we can generate to start editing. And that can happen only when we start somewhere. And the premise of this proposal I just submitted is that. Thank you, Alejandro. I know I took a lot of time on that, and that barely gave anybody. I can take at least a question or two. If we still have a few more minutes.
Actually, may I ask a question, Jordan?
Yes, sure.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on the nature of desire in completeness, like the impulse to go from the non-dual to the dual? Because that's something that I've been tripped up on all the way since like Yoga Vashishta. So,
the desire to be complete, to be full. This is how it goes. I don't want to name anybody, but so the most unhappy people I have seen are 2 richest persons in America. One guy just left his job and went back to whatever the machines he was making. And it's you are billionaire, and like you behave like so poorly, like it shows that you are really, somewhere you are hurt, like you are really unhappy. You might want to kill yourself, like unhappy to the level that you're just like really disappointed with who you are. And then, so this is like, first of all, what you want, what we want. I wish I had more money, right? I could eat all the candies in the world. Yeah, I wish I could buy all. And then we evolve, most of us. Then all the big cars and mansions and towers and all of these are just a little bit bigger toys. That's all, that's nothing more. And the desire is growing, looking for something bigger. And then you recognize the need for power. Oh, money is not enough. You need to be powerful. And first of all, you want to interfere with power. Like you want to bribe some politicians everywhere in the world. And then you are using power. And then you want to take that power for yourself. You want to bribe all these and come to the power. And you are still unhappy. It's okay to be unhappy. It's just you need to recognize why you are unhappy. I'm not saying you should have been happy when you got a penny in your wallet. What I'm saying is keep on growing, but you have to understand, you have to realize that what you are looking for is not ever going to make you happy, no matter how much you squeeze the sand in a mirage, you are never going to get any water the same way. That fulfillment you are looking for by collecting money, by collecting power, by collecting towers, by collecting cars, you are not going to be happy. So that incompleteness is totally okay because it's built in. Anuta, we call that anuta. Anu means like atom. Anuta means like atomhood, basically. Like a feeling Small, that's what Anuta is. Smallness. You recognize you're small. I'm not okay with it. But then the only problem is not recognizing that these means are not ever the means that can make us full. So that desire flips sometimes. You know, one of the richest persons, I mean like a guy making 1,000 crore, not like the richest of the richest, but absolutely rich guy, 1,000 crore a year kind of money maker. Just renounced everything and became a giant monk very recently. He saw the end to it. He saw the end of the rope. I'm leaning, hanging on a rope. If you are falling to an abyss, you can continue climbing on the rope. You would never know the whole rope is falling to the abyss. You will always have the illusion of climbing. No, it's a long rope and you are crawling up and up. The rope itself is falling, but you are climbing on that rope. It doesn't matter how much you climb, you are falling nonetheless. So what we are expecting is a sort of what it cannot give. It's like squeezing the sand to get water. So that is the turning point in life. The incompleteness is what we are built with. Feel it. We should feel incomplete. If you are not feeling incomplete, there is something wrong with you. But then you would say, I am feeling incomplete, that's why I'm trying to make money. Good job, you are never going to feel complete. Because this is projected. We are anticipating completeness from the things that can never, ever, ever make us feel complete. Okay?
Yeah, I don't want to take up any more time. I'll ask you after, yeah.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay, thanks. Okay, I'll take a last one, Alex. Yeah, sure, that's fine.
I guess this sort of kind of goes off of subject of desire in a way. And because in the reading that we went through just today, just this session, emotions were evoked in a way that I hadn't yet seen. And it kind of points to a question I've had, which is the place of emotions in the Trika system, especially given my own philosophical interests, the question of the role of emotions in human experience and a way of using emotions to challenge what's seen as like this sort of cognitivist assumption about experience, that it is just sort of the subject discerning of an object. And to think that emotions are themselves sort of a relation to a means of relating to an object in a similar way has been challenged. And it seems that in a way where it's been, emotional life is sort of, presents the possibility for how one might determine an object or how one might relate to an object that can change what is then given as the object itself. And so like the emotions serve like are seen as kind of playing a more prior, deeper role than simple sort of cognitive experience givenness. And when emotions are invoked here, it's during the modes of anger, for example, the very consciousness is what is conceptualized, and it is the very consciousness that assumes the form of concepts. And then also in 11, with the surge of polluting factors due to self-limitation, the very rise of conceptualization is considered bondage. Even during the modes of arousal and fear, there is always the non-dual state. And so they're spoken of in terms of modes, like modes of apprehension that sort of seem to determine how that which is discerned, it can be conceptualized. But it's always this reflective, is rooted in the self-reflective character of para, it seems. And so I was just kind of wondering, like, where emotions fall, how they fall within, for example, the tattva system, or like, what is the role, what is the place of them in all of this?
Thank you, Alex. That's a very important question, by the way. Consciousness is prakasha vimarsha That is the first premise, meaning it is luminosity at the same time reflective awareness. But vimarsha is the word that comes from mrish, to touch. There is a sense of tangibility, some tactile sense in being aware of something or being aware of oneself. The feel. There's a feel to it. And in that very tactile feel to it, consciousness is relational. Husserl makes it intentional, I'm saying relational. Slight difference there, not tremendously big difference. Consciousness is relational. In relationality, there is always some emotion, because what makes that relation is the prana, the subject. Some living entity. And therefore, whatever the response of consciousness coming in contact with the object, that ripple, I'm calling that emotion. So, it is absolutely the case that you will have some emotional response in every single contact, in every mode of vimarsha. Unavoidable. But are not they problematic? So in this level of bhava, anger, in the level of arousal, in the level of fear, these are binding. But these very emotions, when interspersed with your consciousness, they become rasa. They can become rasa. What is rasa? Rasa is savoring, enjoying that particular mode. Like something is ridiculous, but then it becomes funny, comic. So laughter is just your physical response or mental whatever response. Laughter is not the level of savoring. An idiot can laugh too. An idiot cannot contextualize laughter, interpret laughter through a higher gaze. Like fear, let's say, everybody feels fear. But sometimes humans have developed the flavor of savoring fear, enjoying fear. How do you enjoy fear? I enjoy fear, but when, like kids in the Halloween, or they go to some spooky things, let's say if you love, there are people who love to watch horror movies. Otherwise, the whole industry making horror would be pointless, right? So there is the savoring of horror. So just fear is not the savoring of horror. Meaning, I'm giving you the bhava level to rasa level interpretation. There is a transcendence of a simple reaction or a humor, that's emotion. And then when you transcend that, you start savoring. It becomes enjoyable. Like some dishes, they are spicy, but that is good. Okay? So how can something burning your mouth be good? Okay, you need to build your taste buds. So that is how the same thing becomes enjoyable. But then there is yet another higher gaze, that even the rasa of these emotional expression are transcended in self-luminosity. A gradual transcendence and gradual chewing and a gradual reappropriation. And that is where, within the domain of self-awareness, this savoring of the rasa is also objectified. And you are angry and you are enjoying, you are feeling funny that, oh, anger feels like this. And then within the domain of pure luminosity, you see that whole effect of anger coming through your body, heat rising, heart pumping up. And then it's not the anger that does the job for everybody, people. Like a yogi is seeing the anger arising within him, doing its job, and kind of totally amazed that, I could be angry, look at me, go, I'm so excited. This is what anger feels like. Okay, so this is there in the totally realized level. I'm sure you have had those feelings also. I'm not saying these are absolutely unique to some highly enlightened being. We, everyday people, also are able to go through all these three different stages: coarse emotions, rasa level experience, and the total realization of the emotional manifestation of consciousness, and feeling so funny about it. Yes, that's the last one, the 10th, all the resolution. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.